I'm Luke Summerhays, and I love Audino. Pokemon Black and White featured exclusively new monsters until the player beat the Elite Four. Because of this, a lot of the Pokédex can feel like replacements for specific creatures from the first generation. In recent weeks we've spoken about Woobat being an updated Zubat, as well as Roggenrola and family filling in for Geodude. Of course, all of this is speculation and assumption, except in one case. In the January 2011 issue of Japanese magazine Nintendo Dream, the team at Game Freak were interviewed about the process of designing Pokemon for the 5th generation. Longtime lead artist and Pokemon designer Ken Sugimori said that he was thinking, even at an early stage, about the anime also potentially featuring an entirely new cast of monsters. And apparently, he was concerned about who would stand with Nurse Joy in the Pokemon centers. Along with filling a similar role in the game, a Pokemon was created specifically to replace Chansey. That Pokemon was Audino. With pink fur and a round, huggable humanoid shape, it fits the role nicely. It has large, floppy ears like a rabbit's, with dangling ribbons that make them look overall like butterfly wings. Pokemon Black tells us, "It touches others with the feelers on its ears, using the sound of their heartbeats to tell how they are feeling." And Pokemon White tells us, "Its auditory sense is astounding. It has a radar-like ability to understand its surrounding through slight sounds." And finally, Black 2 and White 2 tell us, "Using the feelers on its ears, it can tell how someone is feeling, or when an egg might hatch." These feelers, as the game calls them, work like stethoscopes, the tools used by doctors in the real world to hear the heartbeat or other internal sounds of patients. This shows that the Pokemon was created to deliberately play a medical role, in a way that Chansey actually never was. The name, Audino, of course comes from audio, referring to this impressive hearing ability. The Japanese name is Tabune, with tabun being hearing, but the phrase tabune vaguely translating to maybe. This had led some to speculate that the English name is also a pun, possibly on, I don't know. Welcome back to Does Andy Remember Gen 4 Welcome back to Does Andy Remember Gen 5 Pokemon?
And if so, does he have any thoughts about them or their Gen 4 similar sounding Pokemon counterparts?
You have already made that mistake, so...
That's why I was saying it, yes.
Audino.
Audino.
Or Audino, I've never been sure.
Yeah, it's a big, weird, like, puffy creature, isn't it? Like, it's I don't really know how to describe it.
I remember it appears in Detective Pikachu, and it really looks like a mascot.
It does look quite a lot like a mascot. I can agree with that. I once again, this might be a later pick. I mean, I picked one up in my Black 2 play, which has gone on a very long hiatus due to lots of video games coming out. And it's just there. It doesn't seem to have any strengths or abilities.
As I can figure it out, its purpose isn't really to be caught. It's to be knocked out to give you loads of experience.
But I did catch it, so, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Where's my XP?
Do you get XP for catching in Gen 5? I think it's the Gen after, isn't it?
Don't think so. Yeah. Got absolutely mugged off there.
But yeah, if you see one in the wild and just batter it, then you're sorted.
Oh, could have done with that when I was grinding for that second gym. Ugh. Ironically, that's when I caught it, so already double mugged myself off.
Yeah. Audino wasn't anywhere near as effective as long-time competitive mainstay Chansey and its incredible bulk. It gained a bit of a niche after Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire introduced Mega Audino, the only Mega Evolution for a 5th generation Pokemon. Mega Audino gains the fairy typing, and ears which are even more reminiscent of a pair of wings. The two feelers on the ears are joined by ribbons under the chin, which means Audino can place these to a patient's chest to even more closely resemble a stethoscope. With a pale-coloured coat, Mega Audino overall resembles a doctor or nurse, with some extra angelic illusions. It is interesting to get a little glimpse of the thought process behind creating Pokemon, from the mouths of the people who actually do it. I'm always fascinated by the real-world creatures, the mythology and history, and the iterations of game design that bring a Pokemon to us. That's why I make this podcast, after all. Oddly, though, I don't like hearing about it from the developers all that much. The mystique of it all helps me to believe that somewhere out there, in some other realm or in some other world, all my monster friends are real. I don't like knowing that they were drawn by a person to fit into an anime. I like to think that the inspiration just came to them because, the Pokemon just needed to exist, whether Ken Sugimori drew it or not. Music for Luke Loves Pokemon is composed by Jonathan Cromie. Artwork for the show is by Katie Groves. Writing, producing, and editing is by me, Luke Summerhays, while funding is provided by lovely listeners at patreon.com/podcastiopodcastius. Next up are Timber and Timpole, so if you have thoughts about those or any other monsters, hit me up with a DM or an email to lukelovespkmn@gmail.com. If you like this podcast, please rate and review wherever you're listening, or tell a friend. If you want to hear more Pokemon chatter from me, come by twitch.tv/lukelovespkmn, most Saturday nights from 9 PM UK time. Even if you don't feel like doing any of that, thank you so much just for listening. I love Audino, and remember, I love you too.